Hey guys, it's Tana and welcome back to another Saturday and Kraftgali video. So I'm pre-recording this. This is going to be out on the Saturday that I am in Florida, and we're going to use the Holly layering stamp set by Hero Arts, color layering stamp set. Now we're going to make a slimline card. So those were the measurements right up there. I think the final measurement of the card is 9 by 4. But we're going to cut it at 9 by 8 1/4 so that after we fold it, because I don't know if you guys have a problem, but sometimes my cuts, no matter how hard I try, just end up crooked. So I wanted to trim it down after it was folded and scored to make it nice and straight. So there's my slimline card right there. And now I'm just cutting 2 pieces of cardstock to be, I'm pretty sure these are 3 3/4 by 8 3/4, just enough for it to have a small border around it when it's on the card front itself. So it took me a minute looking at this stamp set to see the order of the layers, but I did finally get it. I will say that the first time I layered up these holly leaves, it was a little difficult to kind of figure out exactly how they place to get their look correctly, but the more I stamped them out, the easier it got. So excuse me if you see my head in here. I tried to edit most of that out, but it was kind of impossible to show you what I was doing and edit out my head at the same time. Excuse me. So for the first set, because I don't have a lot of inks, I do have a full Catherine Pooler ink collection. So the first set of leaves and berries are going to be with lime ricky, grass skirt, and eucalyptus, or no, spruce. Spruce I used. But then I go in and I show you how you can color layer with only a couple colors. And I use what little bit of Lawn Fawn ink cubes I have, colored ink cubes. So I'll tell you those colors when we get to that. So the berries, it was just easier to stamp them out using an acrylic block. So that's what I did for the berries. And they had 3 layers, but the second layer has like a slightly different look. There's 2 different options for the berry for the second layer. So I did half in one, half in another, just so that the berries had a little bit more variety when they were placed on the card when the time came. And for the berries I used Samba, Rouge, and Sangria in Catherine Pooler colors. And just in case you happen to have those inks. So here are some magical hands making a guest appearance. I walked away from my desk and Jax came up and started waving. So then Riley came up and started waving. They just wanted to say hi to you guys. And then I grabbed Jax and my ink pads. I rescued my ink pads away from Jax's very mischievous hands and got back to work. So I fussy cut all of these out. That took some time. I don't even know if there's dies available for this stamp set. I don't think there are, but it wasn't too difficult to fussy cut them out. I just hope you enjoy fussy cutting. So for now, the second set of leaves, we have some celery stick, I believe it's called, and fresh cut grass, and I feel like I'm way off on that one, so let me just move over here and check really quick. No, I was right. Celery stick and freshly cut grass for the greens. And then for the berries, we have wild rose, and then the second layer was lobster. And then for the third layer on both of those, we're not going to use a red and a green. We're actually going to use a gray. So the gray I'm using is Lawn Fawn's Hippo. And as you can see here, it definitely gives you the shading you want in a color layering stamp set. And it doesn't look like it doesn't belong. It gives, I mean, essentially when you're color layering, you're adding depth and shadow to your images. So adding the gray is adding shadow. It doesn't have to be your deepest, darkest color of your red or green. The gray will do it for any color as long as you're using it for the darkest color in your layering trio. And we are going to use all of those leaves and berries. So now I'm going to take that Concord and 9th woven plaid background stamp set, and I'm going to use the thin plaid stripe, and I'm going to stamp out and heat emboss several different versions that are long enough to go across my card. I wasn't sure what I wanted to use. So we did a red glitter embossing powder and a green glitter embossing powder. And then I did a evergreen metallic embossing powder that I think it's called Moxie. I picked it up at AC Moore a while back. So I stamped up all those, heat embossed them, and then cut them out. And then we're going to do some Distress Oxide ink blending on some things here coming up. I am getting a little bit better. I have not seen the doctor yet. Unfortunately, Dan and I had car issues this past week, and we both had an appointment on the same day at the same time. And his takes precedence. So, number one, because he gets charged $50 if he doesn't show up and doesn't give 24 hours notice. And number two, because he works. So, you know, he had already switched shifts to make sure he could go to his appointment. And I gave up my appointment. So I'm going to try to get in there next week and hopefully get some antibiotic because I do not want to be sick on my trip. So I'm going to take this panel for the front of our card, and I'm using some iced spruce Distress Oxide ink. And I never really noticed how beautiful this color actually was. I am just in love with it after doing this card. I plan on using it for some more cards coming up. So I just go heavy-handed around the whole outer edge of the rectangle on the panel, and then I start to slowly bring it lightly into the center. I don't want the center to be as dark as the edges. And that was the look I was going for here. I really love, I don't know why, I don't think I've ever used the ice spruce, to be honest with you, in the oxide ink. It was one of the first ones I bought, but I don't think I've ever actually used it. So now we're going to do all the strips. I'm just using some Barn Door, the Candied Apple, that's Candied Apple, on the red strip, plaid strip. And then we're going to use some Evergreen Bough on the metallic strip and some Lucky Clover on the glitter. Oh my goodness, the green glitter strip. And then, of course, I wiped them all off with a rag just so the embossing powder shone back through. You know, I tried my hardest to make sure everything was off before I started this voiceover. The heater, my little heater in the kitchen, the fish tank, the dishwasher's going, but it's not very loud. And, of course, the furnace starts up. So I apologize. We're just putting some double-sided score tape on the back of the front panel. And before we stick that to our card, I'm going to use some of the Tattered Angels iridescent spray and then just dry that really quick with my heat gun. And then we're going to put that panel flat. Now I switched out this card panel, the card base, for a gray one instead of the white one. We are going to use the white one. Well, I am. We're only going to make one card in this video, but I do show you two cards at the end. So after that's on our card base, we're going to take the gold metallic strips, and I didn't lay those end to end when I heat embossed them. I just did them separate because I knew I could cover up where the seam was. And we're going to kind of make this look like a present. And we're going to glue the strips down lengthwise and then put one across the bottom. And while I was waiting for that to dry, I cut out 2 sentiment strips with my Neat and Tangled Skinny Strips dies. And we're going to stamp out a sentiment from the stamp set on that. But the sentiment has the word joy in it, and I want to put an actual die cut of the word joy on the cards. So I'm using some Post-it, full stick Post-it notes to cover up part of the sentiment while I stamp the first half on one strip and then cover up that part and stamp the second part of the sentiment on the other strip. And it's just an easy way to not get ink all over your strips and, you know, parts of the sentiment that you don't want to show up. So here's that third strip there going across to make it look like a present, sort of. And now I'm just going to glue 2 quick layers of the word joy together so I can put a green foiled joy sentiment on the top of that, so it has a little bit of dimension. We're also going to painstakingly cut up some double-sided foam tape and put it on the back of that word It was not easy. I need to get some more of those Doris skinny strip foam tape. Those things come in handy. So now I'm putting some foam tape on the back of my sentiments, and I just chopped one end off of each side that was going to be sticking underneath the word. And then the word joy goes in the center, popped up with its foam tape. And here's the very quick view I give you of sticking some very finely cut up pieces of foam adhesive onto the back of this word. It was, I've done this actually on quite a few cards. I told you guys I'm making sets of Christmas cards to sell for Christmas at craft shows and whatnot. And I've done this quite a bit. It is a pain in the butt. I don't know why I keep doing it to myself. I guess maybe because I like the way it looks popped up better. Gives more dimension to the card without adding too much, because when you're making Christmas cards that you're intending on selling or mailing out, you got to keep in mind the thickness of your cards. And we're going to put some those holly leaves that I had set up there, popped up on foam tape, and put those up to cover where our makeshift ribbon crosses on the front of the card. And then we're going to start attaching the berries. I learned the hard way the very first year I sent out my handmade Christmas cards, which was only 3 years ago. This is the third Christmas I'll be doing it. That thickness matters on those Christmas cards. If they don't fit through a certain size slot that they have at the counter to test such things, then it won't go through the machine they have, which means it has to be gone through by hand by a postal carrier, which costs more postage. So the one year it cost me like $50 to send out my Christmas cards. So now I'm just placing some berries here and there, and then they kind of looked like they were floating in midair, so I added a couple more leaves to kind of balance it out. And now I'm going to use some glossy accents and just put that over all of my berries. And I really like the look that the glossy accents gave to the berries. I think this card turned out really pretty. And so did the other one. And I honestly had no plan for the other one whatsoever. I just had a lot of holly leaves and a lot of berries left, and I didn't want them to go to waste. So here's the second card I made. And my kids actually like the second card better. So let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite Slimline card was for this video. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and the notification bell as well to be aware of all the giveaways. There's at least one every month, guys. I hope you are enjoying your holiday season, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye for now.